That's a lot of water you're using.
I know, and it costs a ton.
My family helps save the environment and a little bit of money by using a water barrel.
What's a water barrel?
We're here to talk to you about the water barrel. You put it under your downspout and it collects all the water when it rains.
It reduces the amount of water you use and lessens the impact on the environment. You can get these at the DPW in Ashland during the spring.
You can always save water by shutting off the water while brushing your teeth.
You can even have a shower contest in your home to see who can take the fastest shower.
You can even award a prize to the person who takes the shortest shower.
How short can you make your shower?
Another way to save water while taking a shower is to change the shower head to a water-saving shower head.
This commercial was brought to you by WACA-TV
and Girl Scout Troop 72378.
Okay, that's a wrap. We're all done.
Good day, Ashland. My name is John Petrin, Ashland Town Manager, and welcome to Town Manager's Corner. Today is Wednesday, April 25th, 2012, and we're here at the House Street Water Station, and we're going to talk about water conservation in particular today. So I've got some guests, some special new guests with us, and then the usual guests with me. We have Doug Small, the Public Works Director, and Roy Correa, the Water and Sewer Superintendent for Public Works. And you know, when I have them on the show, we tend to be more like the Gong Show. So we'll bring out Mean Gene, the dancing machine, later on. You know, with these guys, hopefully Doug doesn't go into his dress with the trash bags today. So we're not doing trash bags today, Doug. So we're going to do water conservation. We have a couple of guests with us today. We have with us Sean Osborne, who is with Haley and Ward. He's a project manager. Haley and Ward is the consultant we use to assist us in a lot of our water and sewer issues in town. And then we also have Pam Irwin, who's a consultant who does conservation and communications work. So they'll be joining us today on the show. So again, we're broadcasting from the House Street Water Station. As you may know, most of Ashland, 99.9% of Ashland is on town water. We probably only have a dozen or 2 dozen homes that don't receive it, not many. You know, I think former Selectman Phil Jack was one of the few, you know, in town who didn't get water. But most of the town has water. The water is pretty much supplied from the aquifer underneath the Hopkinton State Park, and the House Street Water Station is on the other side of House Street, Hopkinton State Park, and the water comes from that area. So the entire supply of town water is provided from this location, the aquifers and the wells that we have here.
Which is Ashland, which is actually in the town of Ashland itself, even though it's called the Hopkinton Reservoir, and the location of the plant, the House Street Water Treatment Plant, is actually in the town of Ashland.
Yeah, and a little note, actually, the beach area is in Ashland too. So whenever something happens here, Ashland Fire and Ashland Police have primary response to the state park and to the beach area. So because we are at, you know, and the state of Massachusetts is somewhat at, but Ashland in particular is at 100% usage. I mean, we have problems, you know, with maintaining our usage in our water. Conservation is a huge issue. And in Massachusetts, it's a huge issue because there's really just not enough water, you know, to go around. So we have to look at how we do it. It's kind of like with cars and miles, you know, MPGs and everything, trying to get, you know, the MPGs up, you know, to save gas and so on. We need to find ways that we can reuse our water, recycle our water, and then not use as much water up front. Yes. So today, we're putting this on, we're having these discussions, and some of this is part of a grant we've received, you know, that we need to, you know, talk about public communication out there and getting the word out there as to various pieces. So we're going to go through some various aspects today, and Doug, I'll turn it over to you to get us going.
Thank you, John. Just to build off of what some of John said about reducing the water usage for water conservation, it has a lot to do with the DEP and what the requirements are for the town of Ashland and other communities in the state of Massachusetts. The DEP would like to see us somewhere around 60 gallons per person per day. which Ashland is actually meeting those requirements right now. But one of the things that really affects that number is outdoor irrigation for people, watering lawns, things like that. So a year or two ago, Haley and Ward approached Roy and I with the town of Ashland on this a chance to pick up a water conservation grant, and working with Haley and Ward, thanks to them, we were able to pick up this grant. It's worth about $20,000 worth of state grant money for the town of Ashland. And what it entails three different pieces. One piece is leak detection, where we actually go out annually and it pays for the leak detection on our actual distribution system. And then the second piece of that is changing out the water and sewer meters, the water meters at everybody's house. I think we have, the goal was to exchange, I think, 80, to replace 80 meters within approximately a year, something like that. And then the third piece is public outreach. I'm just spending some time with the public and spreading the word about water conservation. So. And then moving on from that point, I have Roy Correa here, and Roy's going to talk about the actual existing distribution system, how Ashland gets its water and all this stuff. So what we have here is this is not Ashland in the future. This is just some sort of.
Yeah, please no phone calls on these high rises. You know.
I'm not sure what town that is, but anyways, Roy, if you can explain the system, our system using this. I don't know, Correa Town or whatever you want to call it.
Thank you, Doug. It's pretty basic. Our wells are about 30 feet in the ground. We do not get water from the top of the reservoir, which a lot of people think we do. We do have wells. We have well houses, they're called. There's buildings with pumps in it, and the wells have pipes that go into the ground. The water's drawn up. It is brought into our buildings here, our water treatment plant, and it goes through a process of filtration with different cleaning chemicals and other products. Then it gets pumped into our distribution system. It goes to some of our, we have 2 tanks, storage tanks, elevated tanks. We have one on Cedar Street, Upper Cedar, and we have one on Woodridge.
Okay.
And what it does is it helps maintain the pressure in the system. And then it comes back out, and it's also in the system itself, but it helps with the pressure. And it goes into all our main lines, which are in the road, usually on one side of the road, and you'll see the fire hydrants. They'll tell you what side the mains are on, underground. And then it gets sent through service lines, they're called, into every individual home, where that's how you get your water. And then eventually, of course, anything that's used outside goes back into the ground, which helps recharge our system. So that's the basics of how the system works to get water to your home. The average water pressures in town are anything from 60 pounds to 120 pounds, depending on your area and depending on where you are around the tank area. The myth is if you're near the tank, you get real high pressure. You really don't. If you got the pressure from the tank, it would probably blow your fixtures out. So it's usually lower near the tank, the pressures. They maintain lower. So that's pretty much how our distribution system works here in Ashland. And some things to just take into consideration is, let's see, I wanted to let you know that a lot of the water that, like I said, outside goes back into our system. It's part of our recharge system. Another big recharge is snow. Snow melts gradually. The more snow we have, the slower it melts. It recharges our wells. When we get a heavy rain, everyone seems to think that we have plenty of water. It doesn't work that way. The water in our, when it rains, pretty much is runoff. It hits the ground too fast. It doesn't soak the ground as much. So snow is our main thing. And if we have a good winter, we usually have an ample supply. If not, we do steady, slow rains also help, but hard rains do not.
Now, for this year, we're already anticipating some problems upcoming.
Yes, we are.
Because of the lack of snow. And so our systems aren't critical right now, but we're low for this time of year.
We're low for this time of year. I mean, we didn't get snow. We didn't get that recharge we wanted. A few snowstorms we got melted pretty fast. It's been a mild winter. We did get some rain. It does help put a little water in the reservoir, but again, it's a fast runoff. It's like filling an 8-ounce water glass with a gallon of water. Eventually, it's just going to pour out.
Right.
You can only hold so much. So that's how I always explain it, is you're going to get all that to run off. It's going to go on the floor, and it's gone.
So for some basic information, again, we're getting all our water from here on House Street. All our wells are here. We have no other water supply. It comes through the House Street station and it's filtered. So we clean the water basically here. And we own the station. 1/6 goes to Hopkinton because Hopkinton owns 1/6 of this station. It gets 1/6 of that supply. And then the rest of it comes to the town of Ashland. And we have no backup wells. We have no backup supply. So our concern, you know, like we had, was it maybe 3 years ago?
I believe it was 07, yes.
07, so
Yes.
maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we had that problem where we had to do an emergency hookup to the town of Southborough and get MWRA water in here because we really weren't pulling enough water from our supplies.
And just so people know, that was in the winter when we had to actually tie in.
Right.
So a lot of people think just because we run out in the summer, we have plenty in the winter. One of our wells actually went dry.
Okay.
That's how low it got that year, and it was in the winter time.
So that's why, as you know, and part of this the big picture discussion is the fact that we're looking for another water source. You know, we have looked at the Spring Street wells and then the Washacum or Shore Road wells. And basically those wells have been deemed inadequate for various reasons for a long-term supply, or the cost to develop those is exceeding what we would get for for water in that area. So we are looking at a secondary water supply through MWRA. No decisions have been made. Mark Purple, Roy, and Doug are looking at those options for our future. But I think the key in this discussion is that we don't have enough water at this point in time to keep this town safe on a regular basis.
Because we don't know how much snow we get per year.
Right. So we're at the edge. You know, we're at the edge of our water. So one of the areas that we need to pursue is water conservation. And Doug has mentioned that we do pretty good in this town. You know, we're below the 60 gallons per person per day, criteria that's set. But that's not everybody, so we need to look at, various options of where we can go moving forward.
And I just want to show you one more chart here. Once the water reaches your home, just so people are aware, once it comes in, this is the main line again in the road, and this is what's known as the service line. We always have an emergency shut-off in your property, so if you ever see us digging in your property, there's a reason. We're always looking for these shut-offs.
You're looking for gold, I know.
Yeah, we haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
Then it comes in through your meter, of course, to read, and then it goes through your system here, and then it gets distributed all through your house. It gets split up, to your hot water tank, which would be the red lines, your cold, to all your fixtures. And a lot of people also have irrigation systems, which again, it'll split off again and go to your irrigation system and your outside spigots. And inside, you're using about 42% of your water. Now, outside, you're using 58%.
If you have irrigation.
If you have irrigation,
yeah.
and just, washing cars. You got people wash cars, they leave
Sure.
their hose running, they go into the phone. It happens, and those are the averages. And one of the things, even though it's 42%, there's a way to reduce even that. And one of the ways to reduce indoor 42% is with a kit, which we provide free year-round to any resident in Ashland, as many as they need for as many fixtures. And these kits have 2 aerators, one for your bathroom sink, one for your kitchen sink. And this kitchen one will do 2.2 gallons per minute, and your bathroom is 1.5 gallons per minute. It has a shower head that's also a water saver shower head. And one of the other things I think is pretty good is for your toilets, if you have an older one, this is a water saver one. It'll actually save you water.
Yeah.
It's a ball in a cup with a smaller cup.
Well, Doug's in his office bouncing that ball trying to get into the cup,
Yeah.
so I've seen him.
Yeah. And also it comes with these dye tablets that you can put in the back of your tank to check for leaks. You flush once, let the tank fill completely and stop. You pour these in the back, you wait about 10 minutes, and you look for blue dye in your bowl. If you do, you have a leak, and you should change your flapper. Actually, every few years you should change it anyway. They dry,
Right.
they crack, they
They're
build
cheap
up.
enough.
Yes, absolutely. And they're abundant in any store.
Yeah, they're cheap enough both ways in
Yep.
price, and so you
Yeah.
do need to.
Yeah, so these are some of the ways to even save more water in your house. And then there's also outdoor conservation, which I will pass along to Pam.
Okay, great. So Pam Irwin is a consultant working with the town, and she's an expert in conservation and discussion on it. So we'll turn it over to Pam. I'll step aside.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to what Roy said. There is a program, EPA has a program called Water Sense, and you can find that program online, and it's just a plethora of information about indoor conservation. They're promoting Water Sense appliances, kind of the equivalent to Energy Star appliances. If you're looking for a new toilet, you can buy one that has the Water Sense label that will assure you that it's got the EPA approval of being a low water use toilet and functioning at above an average level. So,
Just want to interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
She said the word plethora. For you selectmen and ex-selectmen, that means a lot. So I just want to, interpret that. So.
Yeah, it's a great site, and I'm sure if you go to your local Home Depots or Lowe's, you will see the toilets and the faucets that have the Water Sense label on them. So if you're in redesigning your bathrooms, certainly look for the Water Sense labels, and you know right away it's a water saver. So I wanted to also mention, you talked about low water resources, and the town manager mentioned safety, and I immediately thought about fire protection. And it's not rocket science, but sometimes just that connection between your water resource and your fire protection is huge. So that's something you want to think about as we go into the summer months and you're using a lot of outdoor water. The difference between maybe having a beautiful green lawn or fighting a fire, I think, is really an important little thing to keep in your brain.
And that's something that has really transitioned in the last 10 to 20 years, this green lawn mentality that, we have. And I guess I don't quite understand it because brown lawn means to me less grass cutting, but this natural, lawns come back. And so that's one of the things in water conservation that we have to look at. And that's why we have restrictions in this town when we hit certain levels. We, at some point, get to the point where we don't allow water, a watering of lawns, because it's not primary. Right. So we need to make sure that we think about water for our primary uses, which is drinking, bathing, and fire protection. And people forget that side of it, of having fire protection.
Fire protection and public health are most important. And if you're in a situation in town where you only have a limited resource here, and you don't have another one as yet, that's got to be utmost in your mind. So let's talk a little bit about your outdoors. You mentioned natural lawns. Of course, it is sort of the American way to have your big green lawn. I don't know, sense of pride, I guess, for people. But truly, I feel it's our charge to re-educate people about their lawn and gardens and make them into what we call now greenscape lawns, greenscape designs. Some of you may know the term xeriscaping. We don't really use that in this part of the country, because when we do, people start thinking about cactus and dry and stuff. So it doesn't fit for New England. So we have the term greenscaping. Actually, if you Googled greenscaping on your computer, you'd get a bunch of information about it. Also, there are a lot of materials out. Quite frankly, I like this organic landscaping, sustainable landscaping for dummies. We all are familiar with the dummies.
Yeah, being a town manager, I have a ton of book about dummies, so
well, I
read them all.
Right, so you know the format. The format really is quite simple, easy to read, pointing out things in a very organized way, and it's chocked full of information. Truly, if you had this book by your side, anything and everything you did outdoors would be easy and helpful. There's another great organic land care manual that highlights our area, and you will see in this book local landscapers who now are published because they've done such a good job on what they do, as well as their public outreach, and their award-winning landscapers. Chip Osborne from the town of Marblehead is one of the people mentioned in here. This is a little more in-depth. This is strictly lawns, not gardens. So it's a little more in-depth, but again, the format I think is pretty good, so not too difficult. UMass Extension, if you went to extension.umass.edu, again, a wonderful website, just full of information. And UMass Extension puts out a calendar every year. And this calendar is day by day helpful hints about your lawns and gardens. You can see the pictures are gorgeous, but each day they give you a tip. So for instance, we'll look at today, which is April 25th?
25th, yeah.
Okay, so April 25th says, use a garden hose to lay out the shape of a new flower border. How simple is that? So simple little suggestions, but certainly something that will give you a guide as to, is this the right time to be doing this? Am I too late? Am I too early to put corn gluten in, for instance? But in thinking about redesigning your lawn, think about things you can use that aren't grass, because grass is the water-thirsty enemy. And certainly you can remove a lot of your grass with simple things like mulch and the colors of mulch.
Doug always tells me pavement. Pavement does a great job, yeah.
No, not pavement, because then you have runoff.
Oh, okay.
Unless you put
Doug, we got to change our thinking on that one.
porous pavement.
Oh, porous pavement. Okay.
Those kinds of things. Yeah. That works, you know. And there are a lot of hardscaping ideas, you're right.
Sure.
The hardscaping side of it would be like porous pavers, you know, those kinds of porous brick. It could be stone. And when you go to the garden centers, you see so many different kinds, a real variety of stone and gravel in color, size, shape. And think about how you can use that for design, the design of the mulch. Again, it's no longer just that orangey mulch. You see lots of different colors that you can use to replace some of your grass. And use it as a design. Think about doing it that way, not necessarily just straight. Soil would be most important. I noticed over at DPW, they have a fabulous compost site where before I went into the office, I was stuck out there watching them, turning and going to the next pile, the next pile, the next pile. So certainly that would be most important, to amend your soil with compost, because in the compost you have, well, it's very rich in nutrients and good bugs, and those good bugs are going to eat all your bad bugs. Mm-hmm. So once the bad bugs are gone, you move to the next step in organic landscaping, which would be you don't have to use the fertilizers and pesticides, which is really bad for our water. So when you see those steps, starting with the really good soil, compost, good seed that you're going to put down for your grass, alternatives to grass, less pesticides, and it grows on its own, like you said, John, that the grass comes up, it does its life cycle, it goes brown, it dies, it comes back the next year. So I think of it also as, I think you were referring to, who wants to spend their whole entire weekend after you've worked all week, spend your whole entire weekend outside mowing and raking and bagging and weeding.
But if you're into gardening, that's great, but there's a lot of options,
right,
you know, that you can utilize without having to go to water thirsty, you know,
that's
options
right,
as you were
right.
talking about.
And the gardening is one thing, the lawn is the other.
Right.
So in the gardening you might have to weed. Now in the lawn, the thicker your lawn is, the less apt you are to get bad bugs or clover and stuff, because it's too crowded with really good rich blades of grass to fit anything bad in there. And with the gardens, the plants and stuff, you want to always be choosing native plants that perennials that'll come up year after year after year. So anything that can be drought tolerant, water-wise, and there are plenty of places you can go to find lists of the names of those plants to use, the flowers to use. So you don't have to think about it just being brown or plain or flat with no color. Of course, greenscaping is very colorful. So you're saving water, you're helping the environment, you're cleaning up the air, you're using less pesticides, you're using less fertilizer, and you're still having a beautiful landscape. So beautiful landscape, less water, and that's one of the goals in the town, is to use less water. So we're not asking you to have a lousy looking landscape.
Right.
We want you to keep your homes beautiful. And this is an alternative to do that, and in the same time helping the town. Plus you're going to save on your water bill.
That's it. And we need to save on our water. Again, You know, we're at the end of our water supply here in Ashland. Matter of fact, we exceeded our water supply again back in 07, 08 timeframe, and we're going to do it again. So it's going to cost us, you know, to get more water into this town, and we're trying to avoid some of that, and we need your help in doing that. A lot of folks, you know, who are used to doing things the old way, you know, are going to say that's a lot of crap out there. Well, crap's down in the sewer department, not over here. Over here, we got to talk about different ways of doing things. We're not telling you to pave your yards, as I was talking about earlier. We're talking about there's different ways to be more economical in the use of water and still maintaining a great lawn and great greenery and yardscape and everything. So.
And again, you know, I like to use the word efficiency. So we're not really asking people to do away with something or not have something.
Right.
What we're trying to do is ask people to be more efficient with their water use. So as Roy was pointing out about our indoor materials to help you save water indoors, and we spoke about the WaterSense program and buying WaterSense toilets and faucets. That's just learning how to use the water more efficiently, not do something. Have what you've always had, just in a more efficient manner, so that our water resource, our water supply is sufficient.
Yep, so there's different ways to do this, and so we're asking you to give consideration to this and to step forward. We got some free stuff for you, you know, the ball, and as Doug, you know, does that work, you can try to, you know, toss it up on top, but, you know, you've got the flappers, you've got the low flow devices that we can have, and these do work, and so we got free options. We hand them out from time to time. We've got, I know this is, you'll be seeing this after the fact, but we have Green Ashland Day on this coming Saturday. A lot of volunteers come out to help beautify the town, pick up the trash, and we do set up a table. Roy's been there with, you know, some folks every year handing these things out. Rain barrels, you know, the discussion of rain barrels. Roy, why don't you talk a little bit about the rain barrel concept?
Well, rain barrels are very important because you're actually saving water, of course, not using your indoor water. We offer rain barrels every year. Unfortunately, this year the company is no longer doing it, so we have been checking other sites to see if we can get another program in time for this before the end of May. If we do, it'll be on our webpage. It will be, we'll put it on WACA, and we'll have flyers at different locations like the town hall and the library. The rain barrels are usually about 50 gallons of water. They're gravity fed. We do have a sample barrel we bring out everywhere. If people have any questions, they can come to the DPW and ask us. We do have our sample set up to show them how it works. It's really great for flower beds. Some people actually hook up a soaker hose to a long flower bed, and it's a great way to save water and use the gutter water. So.
All right, thank you. One of the things that we talked about was how precious the water we have is, and what has been mentioned is that we are so fortunate to be able to use potable water for everything we do, whether it's cooking or drinking, but also flushing our toilets or watering our lawns or taking care of our gardens. You know, that's potable water. It's not rainwater. It's not water from a rain barrel. You know, this is water that you can use to drink safely, and that's important to think about that as a vital resource. So this is a community effort that's needed to take care of the water, so that you will need extra water from whatever source you're going to go to, NWRA, whatever, in the future, but maybe not as much. So you have the water department working on making sure that the leaks are found and repaired, but you also have folks here in the water treatment plant trying to take care of the water as best as they can, and looking for support from the community. There are a couple of groups that we haven't talked about here, and that's the children. There's a Drinking Water Week, which is in May. Great opportunity for schools, whether it's third graders or fifth graders, to talk about the water cycle, to engage the water department or DPW and talking about the water cycle here in town. But also there's the Garden Club. The Garden Club also has a website for UMass Extension and other tips that people can use. And so there's all kinds of opportunities from people, young and old, to get together and help everybody here in Ashland preserve the water.
Great. So hopefully we've given you some ideas today. We've given you some background as to why this discussion is necessary in town. Water is precious, you know, it is very precious in Massachusetts. Across the state has a wide-ranging statewide program to address water. We have been forced to, as well as we need to, talk about conservation here in Ashland, and that's why, you know, we've been talking about that today with some ideas, so that we can have the water to move forward and not go into more severe restrictions than what we have today. Doug, did you want to add something in?
Just one other point was about the water conservation was, and the need for additional water is future development for the town of Ashland. Okay, with that said, I just want to point out that this is probably John Petron's last town manager's show. 7 or 8 years ago, he started this with Roy and I, and the show. Anyways, it'll be we're all going to miss John Petron, and it's been a pleasure working for him. And the town manager's corner will never be the same again, that's for sure. And John, thank you, seriously.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. It's been fun doing this. We've done many shows like this. Probably the first time we haven't been gonged in the middle of the show, so we managed to stay on track and we got everything out today. But it's always been fun doing, you know, the shows with you guys. We've done various things at Public Works, you know, over the years, and you know, it's been fun doing this. So this is my last show, so I do want to thank the citizens of Ashland for the opportunity to have been your town manager for a little over 7 years here, and I do want to thank the employees of the town. You got a great group of employees in this town, you know, as evidenced by Doug and Roy here today. So they really work hard at what they do. So I'm going to miss that, and I am moving on to a new opportunity in Burlington, as you know. So I do want to thank you for, you know, that opportunity of being here. So wish you all the best. And I guess in closing today, remember water conservation. It's not just, you know, all hoopah. It is something you need to be thinking about and doing in the future. So again, today is Wednesday, April 25th, 2012. We're concluding our show on water conservation here at the House Street Water Station. And this concludes my series as town manager and Town Manager's Corner. So thank you.
Thank you, John.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Town Manager's Corner. My name is John Petron, Ashland Town Manager. And we're going to be talking about public works and energy today. We've recently received money and implemented new programs here through grants through the stimulus project. My usual guest, Martin Shapiro, citizen extraordinaire, on the show with us, and ground floor of Town Hall, basement, but this is a pretty nice basement, you know, for a building, so it's not what you normally take care of, but this is where we still hide our MIS guy. As I always tell him, we have Scott Motika with us. All right, and here we are in the historical front staircase. This staircase was original to the town hall, and when they redid town hall there. And what we have is community development and health department. And $55,000. I'll sign off with that, and thank you for my guests today for joining us, and great show. Thank you.